So I think
Yeah.
one of the words
So
I used last time, right, Rob, was design, right? Design and planning, and it's a word not often associated with software. A lot of people think software just gets created and magically appears, right?
automagically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, what is, why? Why are you doing an update, right? Versus maybe a new release. There sometimes could be things that are trying to address a vulnerability, right? Or a known bug in an existing feature. So it isn't
Mhm.
a marketing opportunity to, sell a new release, or it's a major version. So trying to figure out why am I doing this update, and what's the span of products that it's impacted by. Is it an end of life version where you're no longer going to be supporting it, or is it there is a known criticality and you need to address that? I think also how you deliver that then to the customer or your user basis, is this an optional update or is this a mission critical update? I
Mm.
don't think anyone would want to rely, use myself as an example, to make sure Rob knows to install updates properly and following policy. Some are just, nope, it's not up to you. This has to be updated versus some update that might add, well, I don't know, maybe additional enhancements that I may or may not take advantage of. That there's a big differentiator there. And you think, when do you force the update versus when do you present it as an optional value add
Yeah.
type of experience?
Yeah, and I see customers, it's dependent on their vertical, dependent on their size, and dependent on all the things you mentioned, right? The criticality, the impact. You know, it's around trying to make sure the end user or end users are firstly informed, right? So they know what's going on, they know why it's happening. Because we all know that if you leave the end user with a blank screen, they're going to just walk away or turn the computer off, and who knows what status that will leave it in. Right? The digital footprint will be everywhere, and then you've got
Hmm.
another problem. So we see a lot of that. We see a lot of a progressive, like you say. So firstly, it's a bit like, hey, watch out, here comes an update in the next 2 months, right? And here it comes, and here's a chance to install it, right? Perhaps using some of the Revenera products to enable that. And then if that's not acted on, then you get a little bit more forceful. Kind of like, actually, you know what? Here's a screen. You must do this update. And then the kind of last chance, I guess, is you by some mechanisms you force it upon the end user. But that's it's not ideal. I think because it leads to a concept of the end user doesn't have control, and that's not a great thing. In the other areas, like enterprise, right, in a bigger company, all this will be managed anyway. So the end user will just come in and log in, and some magic scripts will happen, and it should be okay. Because actually, the IT guys have used products from Revenera and Flexera to make sure the due diligence of applying this update has been done. Um, Either way, the cadence of either end users, so if we're talking B2B, or even B2C is even more, because the cadence that you might want to have an update done in is unlikely to be under your control, right? If you're a business, you might say, well, we'll have a patch Tuesday, or we'll have an update Friday, right? No one's in the office on Fridays. We'll do updates on Friday afternoons. Trouble is, if it goes wrong, who wants to pull a team in on a Saturday to resolve it ready for Monday? So there's all kinds of considerations. Similarly, there'll be some impetus somewhere, perhaps from product management, perhaps from finance, perhaps from marketing, to get across to the other side of the fence at X number of users by a certain date. Um, and but by hell and high water, right? However you do that, but you've got to be, I think, conscious, like you said, of what happens if it fails. Why are we doing the update? Consider the audience. Who are they? Are they going to have a chance to interact with this update? Should they? Should they not? Right? And again, the classic of internal versus external we've got on the slide here just is a really good point, because although it's the common separation, they're going to have likely the similar kind of needs, but they might attach it in a different way. So you're probably going to have more, you know, say and more kind of input on an internal audience than you will at external.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of the messaging, right, to the user. That's just realizing as you're saying this, you have an actual technical end user that uses the product versus a system admin or an IT admin that
Mm.
actually receives that update, verifies it, maybe does some pre-deployment testing before rolling it out to the entire user base, but that individual may not have familiarity with the product. They may
Yeah,
not be even looking at feature functionality. They're just looking at, security assessments and what is the impact to the environment if I roll this update out to everybody. That's definitely a consideration that has to happen.
yeah, agreed, agreed. And I think, various approaches, as and we'll go into the next few slides, how you apply that update, right? Who applies it, how it's applied, when it's applied, and the classic analogy, putting a square peg in a round hole, right? That might work a little bit, but you'll break the peg and you'll probably ruin the hole. So, that's not good. And the whole point of this is to get the software stable, get the platform stable. So yeah, I think really interesting points.